The two oldest hotels in the world are in Japan. Not Paris, not Rome, Japan. And they are not hotels in the modern sense. They are ryokans. Places built around hot springs, family succession, seasonal meals, quiet rooms, and the simple act of welcoming one traveler after another. So the real question is not just how these places became so old. It is why this form of hospitality survived here.
What kind of promise does a place make when it decides to never close? Not when times are good, not when the world is calm, but through fires, floods, wars, and earthquakes. Through centuries, it was never meant to survive. Some inns didn't just witness history, they accepted responsibility for it. And once you step inside, you realize that promise is still being kept. This is Hōshi Ryokan, founded in the year 718. For more than 13 centuries, this family has welcomed travelers without interruption. For a long time, Hoshi was believed to be the oldest continuously operating inn in the world. And for generations of guests, that knowledge mattered. Because staying here never felt like staying somewhere old. It felt like entering a living agreement with the past.
46 generations. That number changes the feeling of the place. Because continuity here is not abstract. It has passed through actual hands, actual names, actual mornings of work. Some heirs were born into the family. Others were adopted into it. But the purpose remained the same. Open the door, prepare the rooms, and receive the next traveler. At Hoshi, the age of the place is not announced loudly. It is in smaller things. The soft resistance of tatami under your feet. The quiet weight of a sliding door. The way corridor light falls across polished wood before you ever reach the bath. A modern hotel usually tries to erase friction. Smooth check-in, identical rooms, predictable comfort. But an old ryokan asks something different. It asks you to adjust to the pace of the corridor, to the timing of the bath, to the small cup of tea before rushing anywhere. This is Ma. Not empty space, but the pause that gives each gesture meaning. The pause before bathing. The pause before dinner. The quiet between arrival and rest. And inside that pause, omotenashi becomes something deeper than service. Not performance, not luxury theater. Responsibility. A way of receiving the guest carefully enough that the next generation can do the same. For a long time, Hoshi carried the story of being the oldest. Then the record moved. Quietly, precisely, from the year 718 to the year 705. Only 13 years. But 13 years is a childhood. And in the 8th century, it was enough time for an entire world to change. Before the samurai age, before Tokyo, before Kyoto became the capital, the title moved to a mountain valley in Yamanashi, to Nishiyama Onsen, Keiunkan.
This is Nishiyama Onsen, Keiunkan, founded in the year 705. Today it's recognized as the oldest continuously operating hotel in the world. And what surprised me most when I arrived was how remote it feels. Not in a capital, not beside some grand landmark, but deep in the valleys of Yamanashi, surrounded by forests, mountains and flowing water. At first it almost feels like the middle of nowhere, and then you realize maybe that's exactly why it makes sense.
Keiunkan does not sit in a place you stumble into by accident. It is held by mountains, reached by road, anchored by water. And that combination matters. The oldest inns did not survive on beauty alone. They survived because travelers kept arriving. People seeking rest, treatment, warmth, and distance from daily life. Pilgrims, officials, merchants. When routes changed, many inns disappeared. When roads moved away, the chain broke. So longevity is not only romantic, it is practical. And at Keiunkan, that reason for return begins underground. The hot spring is the reason this place exists. Not as decoration, not as luxury add-on, as the source. The water rises from the Hakuho Springs. The same source Fujiwara Mahito is said to have found while wandering from the capital 13 centuries ago. It still flows at more than 1,600 liters a minute, drawn directly from the source throughout the building. It has drawn people into this valley for more than 13 centuries. This is where the idea of Toji becomes important. Toji is not just taking a bath. It is the older Japanese practice of staying near a hot spring for restoration over time. You bathe, you rest, you eat simply. You bathe again. The body follows the rhythm of the water. And suddenly, an ancient ryokan makes more sense. People did not return only because there was a room. They returned because the water gave the journey a purpose.
What I find moving about Keiunkan is that it does not need to shout. The power of this place is not spectacle. It is source. The road brings you here. The valley holds you here. And the water explains why people kept coming back. After more than 13 centuries, the purpose still feels almost shockingly simple. The spring was here, hidden in the mountains, far from almost everything. And still, people kept returning to it.
Hoshi and Keiunkan are close in age, only 13 years apart. but they feel like two different answers to the same question. Hoshi makes you think about family continuity. The human promise to keep welcoming guests across generations. Keiunkan makes you think about elemental continuity. The valley, the road, the river, the spring. One is inheritance. The other is source. Ryokan hospitality is not built around one feature. It is a relationship between people and place, between water and body, between one generation and the next. When you stay in places like this, hospitality starts to feel different. It's not just service, it is stewardship. Not only of a building, because buildings here have been rebuilt many times, but of a source. For more than 13 centuries, the task was almost impossibly simple. Keep the water flowing, keep the road open, and keep the door ready for whoever arrives next. That is how Keiunkan makes sense to me. Not as a monument that never changed, but as a place that never lost its reason to exist. These inns were never trying to become the oldest. They were trying not to be the generation that let the story end.
What moves me the most is not how long these places have existed. It's that tonight someone is staying here for the very first time. And because of choices made centuries ago, they are still being welcomed.
Some places do not chase the future. They simply keep the door open and let time come to them. At Hoshi, that promise lingers in the quiet corridor light. At Keiunkan, it rises again with the steam from the valley water. A door opens, a bath flows, a traveler arrives, and the story continues.